G'day mates, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going over everything that's happened so far in FNCS because we have some ridiculous storylines developing, a lot of which I've already talked about, but they're just getting so much crazier. We have Benji Fishy and Aqua just going head to head, toe to toe at Doom's Domain and EU, and it's going exactly how I predicted. Both teams are doing terribly. So terribly, in fact, it is looking incredibly scary that Benji Fishy's team may not qualify for heats unless they qualify through off consistency, which would just be such a ridiculous upset. We have Zaid's team in NA East finally showing what they can do when they get uncontested Dooms, and they absolutely dominated NA. They finally got their hands on that loot, and man, did it show. Anyone who had those whispers of Zaid, Stretch, and Saf being washed have been instantly shut up now. They performed so well. We also have the next stage in all the fresh drama that's been going on in OCE, but day one was looking a little bit shady, a little bit dicey. Fresh's team only getting 3 points in 6 games by contesting retail and trying to change up their strategy. But ultimately, we had day 2 today. I just finished streaming it. Check out my Twitch channel if you want to watch my viewing parties. And Fresh's team managed to pull off a way better performance because they finally switched drops. They went Misty Meadows and things went way better. But it's starting to get too late. They still didn't get top 8. Fresh's team has to qualify next week because I'm actually worried they might not even get in off consistency. So let's just jump straight into it. Let's see everything that was going down over on EU. I mean, the leaderboard tells the whole story. You have Benji Fishy, Savage, and Leshy in 26th place on 19 points. And their last game of the day was in 9elim 17th. So almost all their points came from their final game of the day, and they are still so far from qualifying. They're in 26. That's 11 points away from getting top 15 and automatically qualifying. And you might ask, why is this happening? It's the exact reason I predicted. You have Noah, Aqua, and Rezon who have already qualified now, who are sitting in 29th on 12 points, and they're fine with that because they're stopping Benji Fishy's team from qualifying. Every game, they are hunting them down, chasing them down, and they are not giving up the loot easily because they've already automatically qualified. They came top 15 in week 1. Benji's Fishy's team is yet to come top 15. So if they can continue this grief fest for one more week and hold out Benji Fishy's team, they're not going to qualify outright. And that means they're going to have to qualify off consistency, which is going to be possible. If they qualify again for the finals next week, which I'm pretty sure Benji Fishy's team will do, they should get off consistency. But what's heat's going to look like? If these two teams make it into the same heat, it's honestly going to be better because maybe one of them can just push ahead and we'll see how they go in the grand finals. If they get separate heats, which is statistically more likely, both teams are going to do terrible in grand finals. They're both admitting they're just throwing their FNCS to stop the other one from doing well. It's ridiculous at this point. It's a little bit sad because you got two of the best teams in the world, definitely two of the best teams in EU, and you don't get to watch either of them play. They never make it off spawn or through the mid game, so it's been crazy to watch though. The off spawn fights have been so entertaining. It's just sad you don't get to see them come into the end game. And when you think about how qualifiers work, going from top 1,000 teams down to 33, there is a good chance that Benji's team doesn't make it to finals. There's been some big teams that haven't made finals, and if they have a poor day tomorrow or today by the time you're watching this, and then they don't qualify the final week, they're not going to make FNCS finals. There is a chance that we don't see Benji Fishy, Leshy, and Savage in the finals. Usually this story of griefing Doom's Domain and teams doing terrible would extend over to NA East, but no, for once we saw Zaid, Saf, and Stretch show what they can do. They had uncontested Dooms for almost every game. There was a couple games they were contested, but the first 3 games they had it uncontested, and man did it show. A 10elim win, an 11elim win, and then a 9elim second. 3 games in a row, they almost got the hat trick. It was only because of Miro on Reverse 2K and Day's team to manage to pull off an insane clutch at the very end to take down every member of Zaid's team that stopped them from getting the back-to-back-to-back wins in the finals. So they ended the day on 133 points, only a few points clear of Unknown Army's team though. Unknown Army on 126, showing what his team can do with uncontested retail, as they weren't contested this week by Jelty, Alige, and P-God, which is the Hispanic Atlantic team and just showing how ridiculous they are. And then we have a similar story of underperformance. We have Booger, Jamper, and Avery finishing on 107 points, getting third with uncontested Stark again. I believe they got contested twice, but they actually clean wiped both those teams on spawn, which only helped them. But I mean, in all fairness, there is a reason why Booger's team didn't do so well. This is how their last game went, and man, this has to be one of the biggest throws I've ever seen, and by none other than the World Cup solo champion Booger. I just got to show you. There's no way to describe this.
I'm
3-1-1. 3-1-1.
Wait, metal in the middle? Yep.
I'm Shockwave.
Bro,
I got shot.
away.
I'm gonna die.
Not bad, bro.
What you saw there was Booger on a high ground with Jamper and Avery, the whole team alive, looking amazing. They had everything they needed to pick up their second win of the day. And Booger threw down a shockwave instead of a splash, which obviously killed his entire team. They could have 100% won this game, but it's still, again, they came third place. If you think that would have gained them an extra, you know, maybe 10, 15 points, that does jump them up closer to second, but they're still in third. So they're still not having that insane performance that a lot of us are expecting them to have with such a good drop and such good loot, especially with Doom's Domain having no mythic bomb. I wanted to talk about that. Zayd's team is still performing insanely well without the mythic bomb. They have the drop uncontested. That's all the loot they need. So when you think about it, Stark's loot isn't that far behind Doom's Domain if you take out the mythic bomb. So what's going wrong there? What's happening? And unfortunately, Booger's team has to answer this tomorrow. If they have it uncontested again tomorrow, they really need to have a big performance. I'm sure some of you are probably getting over me talking it by now, but I've done the whole story. I've done every episode of the soap opera. I have to do the finale. I have to do the conclusion. What happened to Fresh's team on day 2 and day 1 of the finals in OCE? Well, like I touched on in the intro, day 1 went really rough. You had Fresh's team first off trying to go Coral Castle because it wasn't contested by Gooboz's team, which didn't qualify. So they thought, hey, let's leave all the retail road beef behind. Let's just go somewhere different. They got dropped on there as well. And it wasn't anything, there was no foul play. It just happened to be another team that wanted to land there. They beat Fresh's team, and then Fresh's team went back to retail. And this is where things got really ugly. They lost every single time. And if they didn't lose at Retail Row, Esches, Sorif, and Carrion rotated out and left Fresh with no loot, and they were super scuffed. They got 3 points in 6 games. They averaged half a point a game for 6 games. So this was a terrible performance across the board. And I feel I need to mention this as well. Before people, if you didn't watch it and you're not freaking out, I know the last video ended a little bit on Esh's team with a bit of foul play with stream sniping and stuff. There was none of that in the finals. And I want to make that clear. Fresh's team at retail struggled. And I do just believe it's because they went down to a team that was outperforming them. I don't want you guys to think, if you didn't watch it, that it was Esh's stream sniping, landing on them, pickaxing them, and holding them. They played a good fight and Fresh's team lost. Fresh's team accepted that though, and day 2 is where things got better, which was today. They ended up dropping on Misty Meadows, which is a weird drop because it was contested by Luther, who is Fresh's old teammate, who was doing really well. His team's already qualified, but I'm guessing Fresh maybe having talked to him or people in the community started to figure out there's some rifts forming in Luther's team, and before the end of the night, Luther, Rel, and Chrysler has split as a team. Even though they've already qualified, they are now looking for new teammates, which has big impact for Fresh. Let me get to that. But basically, it means that Fresh realized that that team was either going to not play the tournament or they were changing their drop spot. So Fresh's team started dropping Misty Meadows and they were doing way better. Fresh's team ended up going from 3 points in day 1 to 67 points in day 2. So a huge jump up. And that's even with them getting contested in the last few games. Of course, with Fresh's luck right now, it wouldn't be a tournament for him without the last game having 4 teams randomly switch up to Misty. Again, I know a lot of these teams and I don't think there was a lot of foul play. Fresh's team actually thought that because Luda tweeted out that he's looking for a new team, that made people realize that Misty Meadows might be uncontested, not realizing Fresh's team had swapped there, and they all went there after that tweet. So just another unfortunate circumstance that happened to Fresh's team, but still a great performance. There was an insane solo clutch from Fresh, and there was an insane solo clutch from Squeaks that really pulled this score together. But that's what I wanted to touch on. This team has been a bit up and down. They've been dropping players, picking up players, and now with Luda splitting up with his team, that leaves 2 potentials for Fresh's team if they're going to pick up a new player. They didn't talk about this at all. I want to make that very clear. They didn't say they were looking to play with Luda, but a few people have just realized that that means that 2 players that Fresh has played with in the past and performed very well with, Luta and Rel, are actually now looking for a team. So if Fresh wasn't really feeling the chemistry with either his teammates or maybe one of them or both of them, now's the chance to get one of these players. Do you pick up Luta and have a really, really good fragger on your team that can drop massive eliminations? As much as I think that's great, I honestly, what I would love to see is for Fresh to play with Rel again. Rel is such a smart player. He's an older player in the scene. He doesn't cause drama. He doesn't get triggered. He just plays the game and has a good time. And honestly, with how Fresh's tournaments are going, I think he needs that right now. So I'm not saying that Fresh should drop Slayer. I'm not saying he should drop Squeaks. I haven't been watching what's going on with this team, but things aren't clicking just yet. And they have 1 week to go. I talked about how Benji Fishy's team will probably qualify off consistency. And if you don't know how consistency works, basically, if you don't get, for example, in OCE top 8 one of the 3 weeks, you have to qualify off consistency by being at next of the about 30-ish most consistent teams, 30 to 40. It depends on how many players make it through. But Fresh's team had carry on week 1 and they dropped him. So they lost all their series points from week 1. So they're going to have to try and get through next week off consistency if they don't get top 8. And with today's score being only 70 points combined, that's not looking too great. So I don't know. It's not such a bad idea for Fresh to find a new team to try to get a top 8 and outwardly qualify with them. Also, what this does mean though is if Fresh does pick up one of these teams or one of these players, he can maybe finally have a drop spot that is uncontested, or at least isn't contested by another team that is just going to focus them and try and get them out of the drop spot. So I really hope that maybe something like that can happen. Just as a friend of Fresh and someone who likes watching OCE, it has been so unfortunate for this team, but a performance we have to talk about that went fortunately very, very well. We had the Twins and Volks managing to win overall from both days. They came first place and they did it without Doom's Mythic. So they're showing how good they are. They didn't have Doom's Mythic Bomb, but what they did have, which I should really say what they didn't have, was a single zone. OCE had 12 games, every single one of them went south. I'm not talking like, oh man, there's so many went south. Every single zone of 12 zones went south. So Volks' team did phenomenally well out of Doom's domain, rotating south every time. The only zone that was kind of central was central vertically, but it was still on the east side of the map. It was over at retail. So really unlucky zones, but they still pulled it off and had an insane performance. All right, guys, that does it for another video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to try and record one tomorrow after I watch NA East and EU and NA West, see if anything changes up there. If there's not enough to make a video on, you guys know I'm trying to go for quality, not quantity. If I think there's something doesn't warrant a video, I'm not going to make a video. And I haven't been promoting as much, guys, but if you want to watch me watch all these games where I get all of this information from, check out my Twitch channel. It's twitch.tv/AussieAntics. I stream every single day, literally every single day for about 8 hours. So check it out. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already, please chuck a like on it. Let me know in the comment section down below if you think Doom's Mythic should come back, because these teams are doing pretty well without it. I don't think it needs to be in the game. It's what pushes the drop from being insanely strong to just way too strong, like just to the point where you can be king and win 11 of 12 games. So thank you so much for watching, guys. If you haven't, please smash the subscribe button. I'm getting so close to 100K. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.